This is the Real Pod Newscast with Levon Putney with a quick check on what's going on. So here's my man to get into it.
Happy Hump Day. Thanks for tuning in for these real, but sometimes unbelievably crazy, funny news stories I've been having a ball finding and writing up, to give us all a break from all the political and social drama. No shortage of analysis and opinionated loudmouths in that realm. But hey, look around. Nobody else is really focusing on these, lighter stories. I do. Because, frankly, I love writing and telling stories, and this gives me a chance to do it without those pesky newsroom rules, like no cursing, fuck that, and keeping stories short. Yeah, well, some stories are only stories really because of the details, and if you write them up the right way, they'll be great stories. Well, not saying mine always are, but it's a goal. So it's just to say Real Pod is a true labor of love. And I'll try to keep this going as long as possible, real talk. I'm about to get back to keeping these towards 15 minutes, though. I've been getting a little too happy writing these stories lately.
My favorite stories of the day.
Well, this first story isn't going to be a short one for sure. It's a little long here, but I picked this story because, to be honest, I always had this suspicion that some postal workers somewhere have been doing this kind of stuff. And I'm not stereotyping, not even saying a lot of postal workers, but have always thought some would definitely steal. Because they definitely get accused and definitely get caught. We get the stories in our newsroom wire systems. Postal worker caught taking packages. 1 or 2 postal workers here in New Jersey were caught swiping people's credit cards from the mail a few years ago. So we know it happens, and that's why it did not surprise me to see this story out of Iowa, where KTVO3 in neighboring Missouri is reporting a 45-year-old mail carrier in southeastern Iowa's Wapello County. I forgot to look up the pronunciation of Wapello or Wapello, either way. In that place, there was a postal worker who's 45 years old and accused of showing she is a fan of shopping at Menards by stealing people's rebate cards sent to them by the home improvement store. The county sheriff's investigators there say they were tipped off by someone back in late June about their Menards rebate stolen and later redeemed at a store. So investigators got to investigating, got in touch with Menards corporate level folks who checked and found several rebate cards did not get to several customers, even though they were mailed off. So they told the sheriff's investigators, who then honed in on that 45-year-old portion of the delivery chain, which led them straight to the 45-year-old carrier arrested Monday of last week, accused of being the latest thief who's reminding us all to keep tabs of things being sent in the mail, especially if worth something. Okay, no judgment, no assumptions. We only know what we're being told of the situation, but it just sounds like it says something that Boeing may have to rehire a blind man as a machinist to build airplanes. Newsweek ran a story on this last week on how a 63-year-old blind man was hired to be a machinist. He applied at a job fair in 2023. They say he was using the long walking stick and did not hide his blindness, and Boeing called back. Again, open about his blindness and the need for special equipment. Boeing said they wanted to make sure he could do the job. He said, yeah, he was a machinist at another job as long as he had the special equipment. Newsweek saw in court documents that Boeing said they made good faith efforts to accommodate, but when going through training in early 2024, the 63-year-old said he felt the instructor and others ignored him and felt they had a problem with him. He still kept pace in class and finished all the tasks, but Boeing officials still told him it would be unsafe for him to work the machinist position. So during training, he was let go, removed from the job site. The blind man ended up going back to his old job before Boeing, but sued, claiming wrongful termination, disability discrimination, and retaliation. He's looking for damages, but also job reinstatement, since Newsweek quoted him saying, "Who wouldn't want to change an hour-plus commute to 5 minutes and double their pay?" And as Newsweek pointed out, discrimination statutes could be a lot more expensive if Boeing loses the case, so maybe cheaper to keep her, like Johnny Taylor saying. Still, that would mean Boeing would be going public with rehiring a blind man to help build their airplanes. And no matter how you say it, it still comes out as a blind man helping to build Boeing airplanes. And after all the mishaps these past few years, What did my man Clay Davis say on the wire? Shit, Boeing's PR department workers are about to earn their paychecks. We still have 2 months till Halloween, so what are y'all doing in Philadelphia? A lot of folks may have seen this. If not, I'll try to post the pic online or in show notes for once, but a guy was just identified in Philly last week for going around downtown scaring the bejesus out of people by wearing this Chuckie-like mask. Well, it was not quite Chuckie, but more like a creepy doll. Still definitely had Chuckie vibes. Now, police say this fool chased at least 6 people within 30 minutes one day wearing this mask. Ran up in one case saying, "Do you guys want to race me?" Well, I don't know how they said it, but they probably said no and took off. But cops say he also, though, ran up on a woman jogging early in the morning, asking her if she's ready to die. Now, I was with him up until that point. Hey, I'm a Gen Xer who bought a My Buddy doll back in college. I really did this just so I could burn it and torture it into looking like Chuckie. I did this, and I set him up in my dorm room, and it was very effective at keeping some people out for a while. So just running around in a mask like that to me is a good prank, but can be trauma to others. And we're only a few years since a rash of nuts were dressing up as clowns and popping out from behind trees and bushes in the distance because, they watch too many doggone movies. So should not be surprised. One woman told CBS News she turned around and squared up the fight, scared for her life, and kicked him in the chest.
And then what happened?
He stumbled back and then he started to run away.
Now, Philly police ended up finding out it was some 22-year-old dude. At least they think this is who they're looking for. But he took off, and they think that he might have made his way to L.A., or at least the L.A. area. But wherever he is, he better not have that Chuckie mask anymore. Back in a moment. But before we break,
blazing the best hip-hop, R&B, reggae, soca.
You can download the Jams Podcast Mix for free. Just Google search Jams Podcast Mix.
It's Jams Hour Mix with Greg H.
And on TV, Chopper, sick balls. The AI doll trainer can even give advice.
Just don't let me see you shooting no dog.
The AI doll trainer, find it in your favorite app store, free to download, just pay for the training.
Girl, you smell good.
Oh, you mean my blouse? Yeah, no, I just started using this new laundry detergent.
Perfume, detergent, whatever, it's smelling good.
A sweet scent, the simple, most appropriate name we could think of.
Hey, excuse me? Yeah, can you not?
A detergent with a lasting aroma that even strangers may want to whiff of.
And now for the world around us.
A lot of fun and exciting stuff in this world around us, in one part of the world at least, being in China. The 2026 World Robot Conference just wrapped up on Sunday, showing off the latest in robotics this past weekend. 7 sessions showing off the heaps of metal that AI is going to use to take over humans. Robot chefs, they were in mixed martial arts, octagon fighting. Yeah, they were doing more than dancing this year. And doing all kinds of stuff, making sandwiches. One reportedly ran faster than any human ever has. Take that, Usain Bolt. Meanwhile, in Vilnius, Lithuania, humans were already taken over by 150 corgis at a park because their owners brought them to race. 150 corgis from 9 countries were there for the 5th Corgi race Vilnius there in Lithuania's capital. But for some reason, the AP is reporting only 94 of them actually raced the Saturday before last. Now, maybe the other 56 were too snooty to run or whatever, but only 94 took part. And Gustave, the girl dog from America, won, and another American corgi took second, while the host country's 2-time former champion named Mocha won the bronze. Now, in Peru's capital of Lima is an ancient adobe pyramid called Huaca Pucllana. It's in a desert area there. I've never been, but the pictures look great. The Associated Press described it these days as being surrounded by parks and leafy streets and upscale apartment buildings. And the pyramid is open to tourists with a restaurant on site serving ceviche, roasted alpaca meat, and stir-fried beef, Peruvian dishes. So people are eating alpaca meat, ceviche, and all the other goodies on the menu right above and close to the skeletal remains of a body buried near the base of the pyramid. Archaeologists just announced last Tuesday that they think it's a man who may have been sacrificed during a ritual in which a canal linked to the ceremonial pool was closed, and The man was killed, and now his body is buried in the canal. All these centuries resting on its left flank with the skull facing the pyramid and the Pacific Ocean. Hey, not sure if the skull facing a particular direction is divine or just the way a skull ends up centuries after being sacrificed for the sake of an offering to some god. But people and Peruvians should know that while eating stir-fried beef at that restaurant and tour the pyramid taking pictures. Hey, the privilege comes on the back of a dead man buried underneath who paid the ultimate sacrifice for them to munch on alpaca meat. In Rome, right in the Tiber River, is the latest proof we need that the corporate term planned obsolescence is a recent phenomenon of human beings looking around saying, let's make stuff not to last. We need work, so let's create work by half-ass creating things that'll need to be worked on. Because back in the day, as in 2,000 years ago back in the day, they made a bridge that crossed the Tiber River in Rome near St. Peter's Basilica. And the ruins of it are still there in the river, the bridge. And only because of another modern-day phenomenon called climate change is the reason the whole world is getting to see this latest example of how things used to be built to last. Used to be, before a particular auto company used built to last as a 90s slogan when their quality already started slipping in the 80s. But yeah, drought conditions have dropped the river's water level to a point where an ancient bridge has come up for air. It was called Nero's Bridge. You know, Nero, the emperor, the Roman emperor. But the AP is reporting some scholars think it was built as early as 39 AD while Nero's uncle ruled. So if that's the case, it should be Caligula's Bridge. The point is, whatever the name, we still see it 2,000 years later. Our 100-year-old bridges and tunnels are crumbling now. Back in
To caress your tush. Rosy bathroom rolls, because your butt deserves it.
Available nowhere.
Why should people in self-driving vehicles have all the hands-free convenience? Why not have your own personal robot behind the wheel?
Where can I take you today?
Introducing Drobot. Drobot can drive any vehicle, no matter how cheap or pricey, large or small.
Buckle up. I'm a Drobot, not a lifesaver, and dead ass do not touch me or the radio.
Drobots will safely deliver everyone on board. And upgraded model.
What's up with what's going down, though?
If there were two stories I saw at work last week that made me wonder what's up with that, is the latest Gallup poll finding that Americans are still drinking at record low rates, to the point where only 54% of us 18 on up say they have a drink at least here and there, which comes out to the lowest rate since 1939, a few years after Prohibition ended. It was 62% in 2023, coming out of the pandemic, which might have spiked the numbers with alcohol in 2020 and 2021. But this seems to just go with the other recent polling showing more Americans are smoking weed more. So basically trading one buzz for another, to the point where a dude from Pennsylvania, where recreational weed is not legal, by the way, calls himself Blunt Man, and KOLR 10 News in Springfield, Missouri, where recreational blunts, weed, and edibles are all legal, was reporting last week that Blunt Man was driving his RV camper on Highway 54 there in Missouri when cops stopped him while headed to a gathering of the Juggalos, weekend festival of insane, clownish, posse-like behavior at this official gathering of insane clown posse fans. And the Mid-Missouri Drug Task Force says they got information that Blunt Man was going to be selling a lot of weed at this festival in the Ozarks. Now, that information they got could have been from the gathering's own website, which had an advertisement on it for Blunt Man's one-stop shop, being a longtime festival supplier. So guess who cops were looking for? Blunt Man made it to Osage Beach, but that's where they pulled him over. Conveniently had a K9 unit ready, and they say that dog sniffed out about 128 pounds worth of marijuana products and another 2.5 pounds or so of what they thought was magic shrooms. Blunt Man had a rather sad look on his mugshot. Shouldn't have been surprised, though. He told him he was coming. Weed may be legal in more and more states like Missouri, but they don't want RVs pulling up with 128 pounds of sticky icky to compete with the state's sanctioned dealers. That's a drug war. You will likely not win. And KOLR10 said Blunt Man was just released from custody in Pennsylvania on another drug charge 3 days before. This is your brain on drugs.
Please do subscribe to the audio version of The Goodness Factor with Shelley Wade podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to the video version of the podcast on the YouTube channel, The Goodness Factor with Shelley Wade.
I think you're going to go find you a job. Now, my nose was so wide open, I said, okay, baby. Although I didn't believe in working, I'd never worked. I'd always had women take care of me. But I went on and found me a job. But one night, my job sent me home real early. And I had a strange feeling. So before I went to the house, I knocked on the door. I went to my trunk, looked next to my Bible, and got my 44. I walk out in my house and I hear all this noise going down in the back, things falling off the walls and stuff. And I hear something like my woman, Nanette Lee, back there saying, keep doing what you're doing, 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 keep doing what you're doing, what? I said, now what's going on back here? What kicked this door in? She said, keep music.
And that's that for another Real Pod newscast. Hey, I say it and I mean it. Thank you for listening. Really appreciate it. And hey, keep tuning in. Song credits, well, they'll be posted on the show's Facebook page. So if ever curious, there you go. Have a great rest of the week and weekend, everybody. New Real Pod will be back next Wednesday.
This has been the Real Pod Newscast with Levon Putney from Show Enough Productions. And for more, hit up the website, realpodnewscast.com. That's real with 2 E's. This is Big Daddy Marty Allen. Thanks for listening.
Mahoney and Police Academy, 3 men and a baby actor, Steve Guttenberg. Is it Guttenberg or Gutenberg? Shit, I forgot. Let me look his name up. Damn it. Show enough.